Hello everyone, I'm here today to do my wrap-up for May. If you obviously noticed that my background is different, it's because the whole of May our house was basically chaos. We changed the floors, we put floor in, which meant everything had to go out and everything came in. And basically we have changed some setups and stuff, so now my film is like even room. But yeah, anyway, apart from that chaos, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I read in May, what I enjoyed, and what I didn't enjoy. So I started the month of May with 29 books on my Storygraph TBR, and at the moment this reduced to 23 books. And in terms of my ancient TBR, it was 16 books at the beginning of the month, and it's down to 11 now. So I only have 11 books to read before the end of the year. And in terms of the amount of books I read in total, I read 8 books, which I think is still pretty decent given the craziness of the circumstances, but there was also a few days that I couldn't do anything because we were waiting for someone to sit down and stuff, so I was just... I spent a lot of hours in the library just sitting and reading because I had nothing else to do. In terms of my TBR for May, I did read all the things that I was planning to read or hoping to read, so that's very good, and I will go through them now. The first book I finished in May was Hare by Chloe Dalton, and this was the last book I had to read for the Women's Prize for Nonfiction for this year, for the shortlist. And it's basically about a woman that has a very busy life, and with COVID hits, she moves to the countryside, and she's not a very countryside kind of person. But she moves there because it makes a lot of sense at the time. And she sees this hare in her garden, wild hare. And she sees that it's very small and it's kind of hurt. So the mom is hurt. She doesn't know where the mom is. So she goes and takes the hare and starts learning about how to take care of it. And that's kind of the whole book is about that. It is a memoir. It's very short, like if you can see the text is ridiculously big for the page, so I didn't take a lot of time at all to read, and also every chapter has an image at the start of it, which was really nice. And yeah, I did enjoy parts of this. I think it was... it could be really helpful for people to understand how to live slower and understand a little bit more about the fact that the things that we normally care about in our busy lives are really not that important. At the same time, I think this book read a little bit like someone finding out how to do something and being a revelation to her, even though many people have lived like that and lived like that for a really long time, and it feels a little bit like the shallow in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I found it a little bit grinding at times. Also, another thing that I found about this book is that, especially at the beginning, the writing is ridiculously flowery. I didn't enjoy that. It took way too many words to explain things that could have been explained in a lot less words. So yeah, I didn't enjoy that either. So as you can probably tell, this book was not my favorite. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's horrible, but it was definitely not my favorite from the Women's Prize for Nonfiction list. The next book I finished was Too Fat, Too Slutty, Too Loud by Helen Petersen, which is again a nonfiction about how women have been often labeled too much just because they were trying to make a space for themselves and they were successful. And that success made them be hated. The writer of this book is, I think, BuzzFeed writer. So it was very celebrity centered. saying the least. It's divided in several chapters, and each chapter is focused on a different woman. So the first one is Too Strong, and then it focuses on Sarah Williams, and then Too Fat, Melissa McCarthy, Too Slutty, Nicki Minaj, Too Old, Madonna's, Too Pregnant, Kim Kardashian. You get the gist. And a lot of these celebrities, some of them I didn't know, a lot of them I don't care for. I have respect for a few of them, but not a lot of them. And also they were not painted in the best light here. Like some things that they did were controversial and questionable to say the least. So in that sense, this was not my favorite. Like, I didn't get the points of it. I got the point that she was trying to come across, but the way she wrote it was like, wait, what does that have to do with the point? If you know what I mean. Basically, she was trying to make the argument that it doesn't matter if these people are successful or these people are like, she doesn't done things in a good way or in a bad way. Like some of them do some cultural appropriation that is very questionable. Then when she talks about Madonna, for example, she is trying to be the cool girl still, and not accepting her age, and that's just going great. But at the same time, she argues like saying you're too old to do something is not right, which is true, but then trying to hide your age is also not great. So yeah, it was a bit. I had mixed feelings about this basically, and I don't know if it was as successful as it could have been on the premise that it had. I was hoping for a little bit more, I guess. The next book I read was Chinaman by Shehan Karunatilaka. I basically picked this up because I enjoy the 7 Months of Mania Almeida. This book is written in a similar style, and I like that. But it's about cricket. It's really, really about cricket. It's about this man that is like learns that he's about to die, and he makes it his mission to find this cricket player that used to be very good but didn't get the recognition that it was supposed to. And so him and his friend are trying to find him and write a book about him and make a documentary about him. And I mean, I enjoy parts of it. I enjoy the sarcastic cultural and societal commentaries, political commentaries. But it's really about cricket, and I don't care about cricket. So I think I'm going to pass this on to a friend of mine that loves cricket. So I think he will enjoy it a lot more than I would. But yeah, it was unfortunately just not for me. The next one, I don't know if I want to talk too much about it here, but it's Positive Discipline by Nelsen. It is a non-fiction kind of self-help booky thing about how to apply positive discipline when raising your child. I did not agree with everything here. I mean, I think the general concept is nice, but I think it's also dated in many ways. And yeah, I would take some things from this book, and I did learn things, but also, yeah, I don't know if I needed a whole book for that. Then the next book I read is not a novel by JenA Erpenbeck, and as the subtitle says, it's a collection of writings and reflections. I don't know why I thought this was going to be more of a memoir, and it was. It had memoir elements at the beginning, so it's divided in 3 parts: life, literature, and music, and society. I like the life and society parts. The literature and music, which is the biggest part, I just don't care. I really don't care that much about, especially music and art commentary. Like, I like music and I like art, especially I like art, but I don't care about the commentary and the like background things, and I don't know, that kind of stuff. And this was a lot about that. So I like the other parts, but the middle one was just not for me again. I guess if you are into that kind of thing, this could be interesting, but for me it was just like not interesting at all. The next book that I finished was Slime, A Natural History by Susanne Wedlich. And this is a non-fiction book about slime, which is like a substance that is very difficult to describe. It's between liquid and solid and gel, and I don't know, it's difficult. And it is not normally considered to be gross. And she goes through all of the reasons why slimy things exist, what the advantages of it are, and yeah, like how did they evolve like that, and stuff like that. I like some of the science, but I don't think it was something that I'm going to remember for a long time. And I have to say the tone of the book, especially at the beginning, it was really trying to be funny, and that is not my tone. I think I'm a fairly serious person, so funny things don't dare to hit the nail with me. And this was, this was one of them. I overall like the premise. I think the information was just interesting and it was very well researched, but I think it felt disjointed at times, and I think it felt like it was not a cohesive thesis in this book. So it was okay. The next book I read is Chinatown by Thuận, and this is a novel about this woman that lives in Paris, but we go back in time to see when she was in Hanoi, and she got married and had a child, and then how that marriage fell apart. And I think it was very interesting. The narration style was very interesting. I must say, if there is no chapter breaks, there is no paragraph breaks. There is a couple of sections of a piece of writing that it was part of the book that is called I'm Yellow, and there's a couple of those, and that's like the breaks that you see, but other than that there's no breaks, so you have to kind of read this in one sitting, which I cannot do. But I don't appreciate. I think it's very impractical. I understand the literary reasons for doing it, but it's very impractical and it always gets into my nerves. But I think that in this book in particular it did flow quite well, and it's not very long, so I could do it in one sitting and appreciate the cohesiveness that created. But in general, it's not something that I appreciate too much. But yeah, I did like the narration, I did like the characters, and I thought this was very interesting. The last book that I finished this month is Hail Mary by Weir. And this is a science fiction novel about this man. So at the beginning of the book, at the very beginning, they find out that there is something eating away the sun's energy, and if that happens for too long, the sun will not produce as much energy, and therefore the earth will not receive as much energy, and so it will cool down a lot and it will produce ice age. And we follow mostly this scientist, Grace Ryland Grace, that he was a high school teacher, and somehow he gets swept into this project of the Hail Mary, which is a spaceship that is going to go to another star, which seems to be dealing with these creatures better than Earth is, and try to find a solution from that. And if you don't want spoilers, you can move away now, but I think it's a minor spoiler because it happens probably in the first 100 pages of this, that he meets an alien. And most of the book is about the relationship between him and this alien, and how they solve problems, and how they, like the cultural differences, if you can tell that, between this alien and him. I think the story was really interesting. I think The narration style was a little bit grating at times, because sometimes it tried to be funny, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But also at the beginning especially, some of the parts felt like the fun professor that is trying to make a science experiment or a science exercise be fun, but it's really just explaining the science behind. And I guess that makes sense, but for me, knowing the science, it just didn't need that. It felt a bit patronizing. So that was not my favorite, but overall I got really immersed into this story. I wanted to know what happened. The end dragged a bit, so it's not a perfect book, but I really enjoy my time with it. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I did find faults on it, and I don't absolutely 100% fell in love with it, but I did enjoy my time with it quite a lot. I think it was also a thing of right book at the right time, because at this point I am kind of sick living in chaos for a month, and I just needed something that absorbed me and took me away from the chaos, and this was it, and I really enjoyed that about it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think the alien human interactions were really fun to see, and how, like, imagining how a different life form could have evolved from a similar ancestor, that was fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would recommend if you need a break from reality. Those are all the books that I read this month. In terms of the books that I am planning to read in June, The Physics of Sorrow by Georgi Gospodinov, sorry if I butchered that, and translated by Angela Rudel. Great that they have that in the cover. This is my oldest book in my TBR now, so I will be aiming to read this. I read Time Shelter from him before, and I really enjoyed that, so I'm hoping that I will enjoy this as well. The biggest book in my TBR at the moment is Death of the Red Rider by Yulia Yakovleva, which is supposed to be a mystery novel, I think, in Stalin's era, something like that. Intrigued about this. I think it's gonna be fun. And then for my Buzzwordathon challenge, reading challenge thing, I have The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. That is for the brown cover featuring celestial objects, because it has a night sky and I think there's little stars on it, so I'm just gonna take it. The one for the word one is a word of history on it, and I have read this year An African History of Africa, and history is a word of like story stuff. So I'm counting that. I don't need to read these prompts in the month they're supposed to, otherwise it would be too much for me. So I'm just taking, like, if I read something that fits and not in the month, I'm gonna take it. So yeah, that's that. And then the last book that I have to read this month is A Sorceress Comes to Call by Kingfisher, which is my book club pick for June. So yes, that's like the must TBR, those 4 books. And then I do have some other things that I want to read in the month. So I finally got a copy of Sister-in-Law by Hare, which was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction, and I want to read it. It was the one that I was most excited about when the list came out, and it's the one that I pre-ordered and never came. So I cancelled that order and I got myself a copy from an easier place. And then the other one that I want to read is Kairos by JenA Erpenbeck, because this won the International Booker last year and I haven't read it yet. The International Booker winner for this year has been announced as well, which was Heartlamp. And it's a collection of short stories, which I'm not dying to read, but I think for completion reasons I do want to read it eventually. I just have to buy myself a copy, but this one was from last year and I want to read it. Also, it's part of the
Warwick prize as well for last year. I don't know if it won as well or not, but it's part of it, and I think it was like honorable mention. But yeah, I want to read it, and that's in my like sort of priority list, not like immediate list, but priority list. And then the last one I want to read is Flowers for Algernon. This is like a play instead of like it's an adaptation. I don't know why. I just bought it online and it happened to be a play. Whatever, I think the story will still be okay to read this way. And it's very short, and I just want it off my TBR. So there we go. Those are the books that I'm kind of wanting to read this month, and hopefully some other books from the Warwick Prize long list for 2024, because that's the last long list that I have for that project. So yeah, those are all the books that I wanted to talk about. Let me know if you have read any of them, if you have any thoughts on them. Until next video, bye!